somehow he looks older in the past than he does in the present day.
And I was like, I want to know what happens now. So I sorted out.
That's how they get you, Tavi. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very clean time travel motif. You know?
It's not Tenet.
Yeah.
Even though I really like that movie. AC is coming on. All right.
Are you ready?
yeah, I'm ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, movies, TV shows, comic books, anime, video games, music, food, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H, and with me, as always, my co-host Tavi. Hello, Tavi.
Hey, what's up, Dan?
How's it
How
going?
are you doing in nice and cool Sydney?
Relatively cool compared to Melbourne.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all right. Figured.
Yeah, got a bit of a heat wave. I already had a chat to Risky before. You're probably going to be like, what's that fucking humming? That's my AC that's on in the background. my portable AC. Well, it's just like, yeah, man, it's fucking hot. 35 degrees and shit.
Did you warn Risky already?
Yeah, I've won Risky already, so he knows.
Good.
He knows what to do. But yeah, it should all be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on theme again. Was it back to school?
Yeah, we're doing another back to school episode. Our lowest rating episode. We're doing it again, just for you guys.
Because we're very intelligent trend chasers, aren't we?
Yeah.
What we're going to be talking about today is Tokyo Revengers, which is a shonen manga originally. And it's about a guy who has the ability to travel back in time to his middle school days, where he tries to prevent the death of his ex-girlfriend from a gang that was formed in his school days.
Yeah, one part time travel, 3 parts gangster manga.
Yeah. Falls under the what they call the Yankee category, which I haven't read too much of. The only one I know is Crow's Zero. It's basically this kind of subgenre of anime about Japanese gangsters who dress up like they slick their hair like they're in like the 1950s or 60s. And it's very like rock and roll. They all like ride motorcycles all the time.
Yeah.
And it's all about brawling. It's a pretty, like, just on the subculture itself, it's a pretty interesting one. You still see some of them in this day and age. I remember when you and I were hanging out in Oweno Park then.
Yeah.
And then, like, we just saw these dudes, like, just bring out a mat and they had, like, this massive, like, hairstyle.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Rockabilly
hairstyle. I guess we'd call them greasers, right?
Yeah, that's it, greasers. They dress up like greasers. Like, yeah, they basically just walked out of Asian Grease Lightning.
but those guys seemed harmless enough. Like,
oh no, they were pretty chill. I think they were quite literal listening to Elvis. Weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or like something along those lines.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh wow, this kind of subculture is actually something that exists. It's funny because the subculture is pretty distinctly Japanese, but it's
derived from something Western. Yeah,
like derived from something very Western. But because you would not see that. Generally, you wouldn't see that. Like, I'd have more of a chance of seeing that in Japan than someone listening to rock and roll.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's all about the dances and TikTok.
That's one of the things I love about Japan is they have so many like niche cultures, but they all kind of like intermingle within the city of Tokyo, I guess. So you walk around there for long enough, you'll be able to see all these different subcultures. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah.
And it shows in their arts. And like we haven't really been exposed to that much of this kind of manga and anime. Like I said, I don't really know Crow Zero, but I really liked the premise for Tokyo Revengers. Just like I felt like watching something that was Crow Zero's because I really like those two movies.
Yeah, it's quite old though, right? Crow Zero.
Yeah. 2007, 2008.
I find the concept of this kind of gangster manga maybe a bit retro. It's interesting for such a recent product to take on the gangster motif and be so successful with it. I mean, this product is really popular in Japan, right? At the moment.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, I think Boone showed me the trailer for this because it was showing at Japanese Film Festival.
I had heard of it, but I wasn't interested in watching it at all.
The trailer for the live action movie looked pretty cool. Because it definitely had that Crow Zero vibe.
Yeah.
With definitely not middle-aged actors playing middle school. I mean, definitely, middle school kids.
It's funny because it involves the main character Takamichi, who's 25 in the present day, but he time travels back to his junior high days, so like 12 years in the past. But somehow he looks older in the past than he does in the present day.
Must be the Yankee hairstyle.
Yeah, all of his high school friends look about 35 years old.
Yeah, I love how in both the anime and the live action adaptation that they didn't even bother to age correct the actors.
Right.
They're just like, you're 30, but you're going to be playing a 15-year-old. I think with this kind of concept, you just have to just go all in.
Sure.
Because you're obviously not going to have 15-year-old kids beating each other up.
Right. Because they're essentially Yakuza, right? They speak like Yakuza members. Yakuza, probably without the tattoos, I guess, and with more flamboyant hairstyles, I would say.
It's not like... I think the content of it is not as violent as Crow Zero, but there are some strong themes in there. But it's ultimately a pretty fun show to watch. It's a very typical shonen story. Takamichi is trying to save his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, Hina?
Hinata or Hina for short. Yeah,
Hinata Tachibana and her brother Naoto are basically killed by the Tokyo Manji gang. This happens in the first episode. And basically the catalyst is that he is pushed onto a train track by a mysterious assailant. And he is seemingly killed, but he goes back to his middle school days with his definitely not 25-year-old middle. I mean, you could argue that maybe his friends and everyone in the show are just so dumb that they were held back 10 years or so. That could be it. But then, he basically gets involved in the gangs, which he tries to kind of join and get stronger so he can save his girlfriend because he kind of rekindles his feelings.
He wants to change the past by ingratiating himself into the gang that is responsible for her death in the present day, I guess. For this episode of the podcast, we'll be talking about the manga, the anime, and the movie. But I guess we'll be doing non-spoilers first, and then we'll give you guys fair warning if we start spoiling it. I guess each of those cover different lengths of the story. I myself haven't actually read the manga. I know, Tabi, you've read some of it.
Yeah, I've read... Yeah, I do really like the story. Like I said, I like the premise of being able to... Or the thought of, going back and changing things. I think it's something that everyone has thought of.
For sure.
And I wanted
especially
to...
nowadays, because 2021 sucked,
2021,
right?
yeah. And we're also old bastards as well.
Yeah.
We think about the karaoke days and whatnot.
Oh, man.
But, the story is, it's pretty good. I hadn't watched... Actually, no, I'd watched Demon Slayer, so I have been watching some shonen animes.
It's not really the kind of thing that we'd leap towards watching.
Yeah.
Right? Shonen is probably something that we watched more back in the day.
In high school. Yeah.
Like when
Definitely.
Naruto was super popular, Bleach, even One Piece.
Yeah. Well, I think some people might be surprised that there was quite a number of years where I stopped watching anime. I think I kind of just got bored of it. And I think since we're talking about the anime first, it did definitely take a little while to get into this show.
Yeah.
And I can kind of recall, because I remember I'd been watching, like, you know, Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
And a lot of anime movies, and seeing, like, these really beautifully drawn, beautifully animated animes. I'm like, yeah, why did I ever stop watching anime?
Yeah.
And then
You watch this.
I started watching Tokyo Revengers. And I haven't been very quiet about the animation quality of this show.
Sure.
It's like I reiterate that the story is really enjoyable, but the animation is very lackluster.
It's
like,
not. It's not on the same level as the products that you mentioned. Yeah. Attack on Titan and that.
It's like serviceable. It's I'm a poor broke animator in Japan getting beat up by my bosses, and I need to hit a deadline animation. Just like everything just felt a bit stilted, I guess. Like the color palettes just felt very bare. Like the direction, I think, is just very uninspired, I guess. Sure. I think it just showed that the budget for this show was really low. And I wonder whether the studios that backed it had confidence in the show, or whether it was popular.
Well, it's not unusual for the first season of an anime to be of like a lower animation quality than the rest of it if it does become successful. I guess even with a manga as successful or as popular as Tokyo Revengers was, I guess, animation's not free. It's not cheap. So, and it's coming from Japan as well. So, budgets are a bit smaller than in the States.
But I don't know. But then you got, like, the first season of Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer are, like, through the roof, you know? Yeah.
I don't remember Attack on Titan was pretty good, I think, if I remember right. But I feel like it's gotten better over time.
It definitely got better. But, like, because I'd watched Tokyo Revengers for a few days, because it really kind of took its time.
Yeah.
And I think one issue with the anime, and I think one issue with shonen anime adaptations or manga adaptations, is the padding.
Right.
There's a lot of Takemichi repeating what we've just seen.
Sure.
And lots of times of him, like, forgetting what he's doing and why he's there.
Yeah.
But not because the character forgets, it's to pad and reiterate points.
I feel like if I was watching something like Tokyo Revengers week by week and waiting for the next episode to come out every week, I'd be so, like, frustrated, because the first 4 minutes is literally just a recap of the previous episode, and then there's like the opening credits, which is like a minute and a half. So you've really only got like 15 minutes of like the new episode to watch. And you said, a lot of it is just Takemichi saying the same thing over and saying the characters' names over and over again.
And then it's like, why am I doing this? Oh, that's right. And then, and then getting the shit kicked out of him.
Sure. I guess it's written for a younger audience. So, maybe there's a bit of hand-holding in terms of...
No, because I feel like the manga probably doesn't do that as much.
Sure,
I feel like the anime, it's like, we've ordered this many episodes, so you have to, like, pad it. And I think it's just a standard practice, which is why, like, I felt like, the animation studio or the animation department is just like, like, look, man, I want to go to the izakaya and, like, get some drinks.
Sure.
But, I mean, that being said, like, the story and the characters is what carries the show. And I think that's why it is enjoyable to watch and it is successful, because the bones from the manga is good. Like, you enjoy watching all the absurdly ridiculous characters. I mean, like, you know, these are all middle-aged kids who are fighting and killing and smoking.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, it's basically what adults are doing, and people fighting, like, you know, a large amount of people at once, like one person taking out an army. It's kind of like, and it's very similar to what Crow Zero did as well. It's like an adaptation of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but with middle school kids, which I think is a really fun idea. And I enjoy all the character designs, the art designs look cool. Like, every character, you know what they're all about when you look at them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Takemichi is like the main hero, but like he's a bit of a crybaby and he's weak, and you can kind of see that with his big eyes.
Yeah.
Draken, he's like the second lieutenant, and he's like tall, muscular, and like has the ponytail strand hair, like one of maybe the Chinese warriors did.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, this guy is badass
and loyal. Yeah,
and Mikey, who is deceptively skinny but has motherfucking abs. Like, you just know what he's about, you know. He's a bit childish, but he can get serious. Yeah. And I guess the main villain of the or the main antagonist, Kisaki,
yeah, he's pretty
you
sinister
look at him, and you see his smile, his grin. It's like, nah, man, this guy is fucking evil, bro. look at this thing.
But that said, even with all that, it's not a predictable show, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, there are some twists and turns that I honestly didn't see coming. I think the time traveling aspect of it, although it's a pretty big part of the show, they don't focus on it that much.
Yeah, it's pretty light. Like, they don't use it to overcomplicate anything. I mean, there's no guy going 3.95 gigawatt Marty.
You don't get a headache from like listening to the time. Like, it's a very clean time travel motif. You know?
It's not Tenet.
Yeah.
Even though I really like that movie, but like it's not, you know, there's no people traveling backwards and sound design going backwards and stuff. But it's pretty light, and the rules are fairly simple. Like, you don't. There is a trigger to this power, but it's not been explained yet how it has started. Like, I don't know.
I don't think it needs to be explained. Really,
it will probably will at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the anime covers, I think there's 5 arcs altogether. And I think all the arcs, I'm just assuming this at the moment, involves some kind of big gang fight that they lead up to. And I think there's 5 major ones, just on a quick research. But yeah, the anime covers the first 2. And yeah, I really liked what they call, I think the first arc is the Mobius arc. Yeah, so it's basically the gang is gearing up to fight this other rival gang called Mobius.
That's what's covered in the movie, right? In the live action.
Yeah, the live action movie only covers the Mobius arc. But yeah, I've got my opinions of the live action, but I want to hear what you have to say about the anime.
Yeah, I think everything that you said, pretty much on the mark. I didn't find it too slow. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of filler in shonen animes, but I feel like even though there was a bit of filler, it still went fairly quickly compared to something like Bleach or One Piece. And yeah, the animation is just so. It kind of reminds me, kind of reminds me of the first season of Bleach. So I imagine if they are going to make more seasons of the anime, I imagine the animation will improve.
Yeah, dude, if the animation does improve, this has potential to be like a great show to watch. Like, imagine someone in high school watching this show now, getting into anime, they'd be like, this is the dopest shit ever, for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting... I find its popularity pretty interesting, because, like, in the scope of current shonen anime and shonen manga that are popular, like, you've got Demon Slayer, you've got Attack on Titan, you've got One Piece. Like, even with the time travel motif, Tokyo Revengers is pretty grounded. compared to all of those animes.
Even with the supremely tank middle school kids.
Like you said,
right.
It was pretty over the top, but when compared to those titles, it's really quite grounded. And I think, maybe it's because it's not too fantastical. I think maybe that's part of its success, because there hasn't been a shonen manga like that for a while, I think.
That's kind of grounded.
Yeah. And definitely, like, the time traveling aspect of it is something that appeals to everyone. Like you said, I think maybe particularly for Japanese manga readers or people of that age, I feel like maybe there is a bit of longing for the past, or maybe dissatisfaction with their current lives.
Actually, a lot of these mangas are set, or the characters or the protagonists are usually quite young. Do you think that the setting of middle school adds anything to... do you think it adds anything to Tokyo Revengers?
Yeah, I think I'm guessing, like, the readership for this kind of manga, people like maybe 25 years old to 35 years old, probably mostly males. So for that particular demographic, I think a lot of them would be longing for those years, like a simpler time, where they're not kind of stuck in whatever jobs they're doing.
The theory is, one of the criticisms that I've heard about Tokyo Revengers is that it being in middle school, or the setting in middle school, doesn't add anything to the manga. Like, they should have been like older characters, and that's like kind of a common trope in anime. But like, I can't say this for sure, but I've heard some discussion that it's just that a lot of these mangakas, or I guess Japanese people, maybe in general, kind of long for their school days, where things are a bit more carefree.
Sure.
Whereas, because the work culture is pretty grueling in Japan, you're always working overtime, you're rarely at home, you rarely have time for hobbies, which is why most people will stick to a hobby and maintain that hobby, like, really in depth, I guess. Which is why you see, like, these subcultures that you and I briefly mentioned earlier.
I definitely get a sense of that kind of romanticism of the high school era in anime.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, whenever I watch a anime that is set during high school or middle school, I'm like, man, it looks like so much fun to go to high school in Japan. Like, they're all going to club activities, they're having like culture fests, and even the athletics carnivals look really fun. I'm like,
I had a good high school experience for sure, but it doesn't look nearly as fun as, like, having a culture fest and stuff. We did have something similar to that, but on probably a much smaller scale, maybe.
We were talking about, like, in our previous back to school episode, we actually edited out one of the films that we originally recorded because it was too graphic and too violent to air at the time. But even that school, even though horrific stuff happens in it, like, it actually looks kind of fun. Like, before the slaughter,
looks fun running around in fear. Maybe we'll release that content for.
We've still got it somewhere. But this anime, Tokyo Revengers, even though they don't go to school that much. Like, they're not actually in school for a lot of the anime. I feel like the fact that he's going back in time to that era to change, his past. I think that is what strikes a chord with this particular demographic. I think it does have something to do with being dissatisfied in the work culture in Japan, maybe.
It's just kind of being beaten down all the time, and just kind of like being beaten down when you're in school.
It would definitely explain the popularity of things like Steins Gate as well. Just that going back and changing stuff, I think, is what would appeal to people. I don't want to speak for Japanese people. Maybe a lot of them are probably quite happy in their working lives, but that's just what I feel like when I watch this kind of anime.
Yeah. I think it's like, I don't think anyone would admit it, but I think it's just how the anime probably addresses the subconscious, you know. Another thing that I wanted to mention in the anime, something that I found a little bit lackluster as well, was the opening and ending credits, like the theme songs. Like, usually I'm the kind of guy that will watch the opening and endings all the time. If I like the song, I'll watch it. But this time, I don't know, I felt like it didn't really suit the anime.
The opening has kind of a retro vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but it's somewhat like low energy. I don't know. Like when I think of this anime, and there's actually a couple of tracks in the live action that kind of pulled off pretty well. I'll talk about when we get to there. Kind of like more rock and roll, you know, or maybe heavy metal punk music, I guess. But I found the opening was kind of like retro bluesy almost. It didn't. Yeah. I mean, like I kind of got used to the song after a while, and it got stuck in my head. But I would often just skip it. I liked the first ending theme song. That was cool. Even though just thinking now, I don't remember how it goes.
Well, I listened to the opening once and then just skipped it. I actually watched this anime, the English dub, because Crunchyroll, for some unknown reason, has like 6 different dubs but doesn't have the original Japanese available.
Yeah, you told me this. I was like, what the fuck,
I watched the entirety of season 1 in English.
Without going into too much detail, Crunchyroll, put your money into showing us good anime instead of your original stuff.
I'd have to agree with that, to be honest. I mean, it's probably a licensing issue. I know Japan and TV Tokyo are pretty protective of their stuff, so it's probably not easy acquiring the rights to show these anime titles.
Yeah, how's the dub? Because I'm just like, man, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst dub I've seen. They do their best. Like, some episodes are legitimately good. I think with a character like Takemichi, it's very easy to have a horrible dub. But I think the actor that plays Takemichi in English is pretty good. It's not bad. It's serviceable, I would say. The coolness of the main character still comes across.
Of Mikey, you mean?
Of Mikey and Draken. So I thought they might have been mispronouncing Draken for a long time. I thought that his name must be Dragon, and they're just like turns out his name is Draken. I think it helps because it helps that I didn't watch any of the Japanese audio, so I've got really nothing to compare it to. I think if I have watched half of it in Japanese and half of it in English, I would have found the English dub much worse on the ears. But as it stands, it was fine. Yeah.
Let's get on to the live action adaptation. Whereas I said the anime drags a lot, the movie has the opposite problem, where it just flies through everything.
I was wondering this because I was wondering if it might be hard to follow if you hadn't watched the anime first. Both you and I watched the anime before we watched the movie, so we could fill in the gaps in the narrative that the movie kind of made for itself. I watched it with my partner, and she said it was fine. It was easy enough to follow, and she was only half watching it as well.
I think they follow the plot pretty well. Like, it's easy to follow. The things I liked about the adaptation is the cinematic look, I guess. It's got a budget, so there are a lot of like really nice shots. You know, the scene where Mikey, Takemichi, and Draken are on bikes and they're just like riding along.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's a really nice shot. And in the anime, it's very basic. It's a very basic like coverage, but In the movie, it's almost extreme wide shot of them just riding along this hill, and it's just a long take. You can kind of take in the fact that these guys are, becoming friends.
And even the parts where they're riding motorbikes, I found really nice to watch.
The fight scenes are better, I think, because it's more dynamic. The people are moving in the background, or it looks alive, whereas, in the anime, you can kind of get away with not animating people in the back.
Yeah,
and,
when I was watching the anime, I thought that this kind of fighting would be better in live action. Like, you watch things like Naruto and One Piece and you're like, they're never going to be able to do this in live action. But when you watch something like Tokyo Revengers, where it's just fist fighting and like the biggest thing they do is like a jump kick, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like, Mikey does like a capoeira kick to a guy and that was pretty cool.
They do substitute a few moves.
Yeah.
Like, it's not completely the same as the anime. But the movements are similar enough, and I think the sound design as well helps a lot.
Yeah, it is definitely crunchy. Like very similar. Yeah, and like the the special effects are pretty good. Like the cuts and bruises, they're not too graphic, but it looks like it hurts.
I would have liked them to go maybe a little bit more over the top with the fighting. Maybe something towing more of a Crow Zero line.
Yeah.
Just to show like the outrageous fighting abilities of Mikey and Draken compared to the others, because like Mikey does do one like really badass kick, but then like there's a group fight and he kind of like is just
you kind of want them to defy gravity a little bit,
make it a bit more cartoony, I think. Because in Crow Zero, just comparing them again, like Serizawa is like doing stuff that humans can't. It's not like really, really over the top, but it's just over the top enough to be like, oh yeah, this guy's just stronger than everyone else.
Yeah. As I was saying, the pacing is so fast that it lacks the character development. Like I was telling you before about the scene on the bikes where it seems like they're actually becoming friends. There wasn't enough of those scenes where they're just hanging out. Because in the anime, you see them, they're at like, takeaway restaurants. They're just hanging out. They're just shooting the shit at points. Where in this one, it's just like, it's the skeleton of the plot, this is what you need to see so you can move it forward. Which, it's fine, but I don't get a sense that Takemichi and Mikey and Draken are friends. I don't get a sense that Takemichi is friends with his friends, I don't get a sense that Takemichi really even likes Hinata. Yeah. In the anime, they have these really awkward like moments together. And they're both shy, and they're being like, that very cutesy boyfriend-girlfriend thing. But in live action, it's like, oh yeah, I guess I should rescue this girl because she's pretty cute, kind of thing,
There's definitely not enough time for all of that in the movie. A lot of things are brushed over, like the relationship between Takemichi and Hinata's younger brother as well. It's kind of like just brushed over.
Yeah, you don't see many like dimensions of Naoto. He's kind of just like
an angry
bit of a
cop.
And I don't remember if they did this in the anime, but in the live action, he's just like, just kill Mikey.
There is that moment in the anime.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not as strong, Whereas this one, it's like, dude, you're a cop.
It's counterbalanced with other moments that were left out in the movie. Like the part where Naoto and him are cleaning Takemichi's room or looking for clues in Takemichi's room, and it's like disgusting. Like you kind of get to see the lighter side of Naoto in those moments, but in the movie, he's just intense.
I think the humor in the movie falls flat when it just didn't kind of work. Whereas like there's quite a bit of humor in the anime, like where they kind of like accidentally hold hands and he gets transported back. In the anime, before he gets sent back, he spends like a few weeks with Naoto, but in the movie he's just like looks at a bit of a news article. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm fucking bored, man. It's just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, they got to move it along. Yeah, there are some like differences, but I feel like the movie was probably written for people that have read the manga and watched the anime. So I don't know if it's meant to kind of stand alone as its own film.
There are some things. Oh yeah, that's right. I was talking about the music before. I found that the score itself was it's fairly generic, but there's a couple of new metal tracks. I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like a Tokyo Revengers song. When they're gathered together before planning to fight Mobius, there's like this pretty like new metal songs. Like, oh yeah, that's kind of got that early 2000s cheese where it's Tokyo Revengers is set, because it's it's when he travels back in time, it's set in the mid 2000s when we were fucking going to high school, so it captured that era pretty well. I really like the ending credits song. It's the one that they play in the trailer. I actually really I watched the end credits and I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this song.
What did you think of the characterization of Takemichi
in the
movie?
Yeah, I actually think the protagonist, that actor did a pretty good job with Takemichi. I think everyone else didn't quite pull it off. Like, everyone looks the part, but I feel like there's just that lack of development, None of the portrayals are bad in the film. Like, they're pretty well casted. It's just that it just seemed a bit lackluster. Like, I didn't really feel much for these characters for, like, the pivotal or the emotional scenes. The scene at the hospital. Where Draken makes Mikey bow to the parents of a girl who was, basically nearly beaten to death by Mobius. I felt that a lot more in the anime. Whereas this one, I was like, it's kind of sad, I suppose. And the lack of Takemichi and Hinata at the festival. Like, I liked just watching them go on a date. But then this one, it's just like, oh, yeah, pep talk. Now go do your thing.
And Draken's
cool.
missing his love interest
Emma.
As well. They took her out. Don't know if they'll add her in the subsequent films, but...
I feel like the movie was made or designed, if it was not successful, they could just leave it. Because the movie is pretty complete. Which, if we talk about the ending, that's kind of spoilers,
But you're right, it would stand alone, like, as its own film. It doesn't really need a sequel. Although there are some characters that are introduced but not followed through with. So... like the main antagonist, I should say, Kisaki. He's kind of there in the film, but he doesn't really do anything.
So I think they kind of sort of imply he's behind it, but the main antagonist is Kiyomasa in this one.
Sure.
Because he's the one for Takemichi to overcome at the end. I didn't really like how they changed that setting.
It was definitely more tense in the anime, I feel like. Because it seemed more hopeless, like, their situation.
And, like, there's people like watching as well. So when... are we just going to talk spoilers now? Because if I mentioned it.
I think we can talk spoilers. But, if you haven't watched this anime or the movie... I think it's worth a watch.
Definitely. If you enjoy shonen anime, you'll get a kick out of it. If you're not as much of a stickler like me, you'll definitely enjoy it because the story is great. I was definitely getting into it during like the main.
Would you watch the movie first or the anime first?
Anime. I like to take my time with stuff, so I would go the slower route. I like the characters a lot more, but if you're just like a company man who needs to get shit done quickly, you can watch the movie and you'll get all the plot points. If you want to save even more time, you can just read the manga as well.
Depending on how fast you can read.
Well, to briefly mention the manga, I think the black and white style suits the art style of this particular manga. It does end on a cliffhanger, the anime, and I was like, I want to know what happens now. So I sorted out.
That's how they get you, Tavi. That's how they get you.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely an interesting story. So I immediately went and found it and read a few more and got cured that addiction.
Would you say that the anime captures the art and motion of the manga?
The character designs, yes. Probably not the motion. I feel like just watching the still images, your brain kind of fills in the gaps itself. Whereas when you're watching the anime, you're kind of watching the really low budget. And it's like, oh yeah. Like, it just kind of looks weird.
Sure.
But
Okay. All right, let's talk spoilers then, shall we?
What was I saying before? Yeah, basically, Takemichi does overcome Kiyomasa, and the difference in the anime and live action is that in the anime he's being watched by his friends, and Kiyomasa is being watched by his cronies, and Kiyomasa gets choked out. So I guess for a bit of context, Kiyomasa is basically this really tank middle schooler.
Yeah. If all the other middle schoolers are 28, this middle schooler is 34.
Yeah. And he's basically beaten the shit out of Takemichi much earlier in the story. So Takemichi gets a bit of his redemption.
Yeah, he's not as strong as Draken, but he's much stronger than Takemichi. So for Takemichi to best him, it's a very big moment for his character. I noticed in the movie they kind of they put present day Takemichi there for a few frames. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, I think it's just kind of to show that he's grown, but I mean, he's maturing. Sure. I guess is what they were trying to say. It's like your young self is now your mature self.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's a bit of
I thought it might have been he's kind of exacting revenge on Kiyomasa for his present day life.
There was something that they did show in the movie that they don't do in the anime, and it's only very slight. Basically, when Takemichi goes back in the past, and he goes back to the future, it changes the future. So during the Mobius arc, he has to save Draken from getting stabbed. Otherwise, Mikey goes into a deep, dark depression and ends up making Tormon, which is his region, a pretty evil region. And the Manji gang becomes a very typical bad guy Yakuza organization. And Takemichi does stop Draken from getting killed. So when he goes back, Hinata is alive and all that. So things change when he goes back. So he does actually manage to rescue Hinata. But you never really see things change from Naoto's perspective, because Naoto seems to be the one that keeps tabs on the changes.
Yeah, because he for some reason can remember both.
Because he's the link to the past.
Yeah,
he's the I think to activate the power, he's got to shake hands. They have to shake hands. So I guess there must be some. He can obviously notice when things change, but you don't see that in the anime. But in the movie, you do. I think you see one of the tattoos of one of the other lieutenants disappear.
Mikey's dragon tattoo disappears.
That's it.
And I mean that's just a very smart visual representation of the changes that are happening. I think that's a pretty good choice for the movie to make.
But there's definitely as the series goes on much bigger changes that happen. Takemichi, you first see him as a loser working in a video rental shop, to him being a fucking rich fuckboy, basically. Super successful. And I always wondered how I can just imagine Naoto just chilling out, maybe he's making cup noodles or something. It's oh shit, and he's just suddenly in this new area.
Well, a lot of the time, because the changes that happen are based around the Tokyo Manji gang usually. So Naoto is a cop. He's pretty separate from all that's going on. So I reckon some of the time he doesn't even notice these changes until Takemichi brings it to his attention. Like I think in both the anime and the movie, when Takemichi stops Akun, his best friend, from stabbing Kiyomasa, that changes the present day. So Akun, instead of being like this loser, becomes like a fairly big deal in Toman. And when Naoto first hears this, he's surprised because he's like, oh, that shouldn't be. But I guess you changed the past. So, I feel like the changes that happen probably don't affect Naoto personally a lot of the time, except for his sister being alive again, I guess.
Yeah, because like my sister's alive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, briefly. I guess it's spoilers. So.
So that was pretty intense, hey?
Yeah, that was kind of unexpected. Yeah, I'm like, oh shit, like he saved her. But you kind of knew something was going to happen when it's like, oh yeah, you go wait in the car first. And it's like, okay.
I didn't expect it until that guy shows up outside the bathroom.
Hanma, the snaky guy, I guess, you know. He's what would you call that archetype? The Orochimaru-esque character.
Yeah, just the snake, I guess.
The snaky guy. You've definitely seen him in animes.
Ichimaru Gin from Bleach, Orochimaru from Naruto. Yeah.
I didn't expect the final climax of the show, of the anime, the end of the Valhalla arc, and I guess it's the beginning of the next one.
So Takemichi becomes a big shot, like you said, and then he's at a team dinner. I guess he's still trying to figure out what the hell is going on and how he ended up in such a high position in the Tokyo Manji gang. And then the main antagonist, Kisaki, who we haven't really talked about, but he's the evil guy. He takes Takemichi and I forget the other guy's name aside. Chifuyu, that's it. He takes Takemichi and Chifuyu aside. It seems like he's trying to mend their past grievances, trying to make it water under the bridge. They have a toast, and then Takemichi wakes up tied to a chair with Chifuyu next to him also tied up. And Kisaki caps them both. Or well, he pulls the trigger on Takemichi at the end, but I don't know what happens after that because it kind of cuts off screen.
I know what happens, but I'm not going to tell you. But I would talk beyond that. I was just like, oh shit, that's how they get you, man. Like it's pretty juicy. I'm like, fuck,
it's a good cliffhanger.
Like, I gotta know. Like I have to know now. Like it's not like at the end of the Mobius arc, which basically is the end of the movie as well. He goes back and he sees Hinata is alive, and like that was when I took my break from watching the show. Like it's happy. Like let's just leave it for that for like a day or so.
Sure.
It has like this weight to it, like these dramatic moments, which is what I thought the movie was lacking, because things kind of just happen as when we were talking about in the Matrix episode, where things kind of just happen and it just goes on to the next scene.
Yeah,
it kind of lacks a bit of that dramatic feeling, I suppose. So when he does see Hinata at the end, it's kind of like, oh, that's nice she's alive, because she's cute. Like when you see when Takemichi sees that Hinata is alive, he's like super. Yeah, he bumps into her in the corridor, and he's like just crying. Sure. I guess.
And then they just have a few like moments where they're just really awkward together. Because of course you would be awkward, I guess. They haven't seen each other for like 12 years, and he's just at her house crying for some reason.
Yeah. But it's just like it's a nice moment. It feels rewarding, until it's snatched away immediately. Like it's rewarding to see.
I will say it was definitely a good place to end the movie.
Because it can just like cap off its own story, basically.
Or it could have a sequel, which it probably will.
I think it definitely will. Yeah,
considering how much money it made. Which is good. I think. More movies should be made. I want to see what they do with the rest of the characters, like the more evil characters. I'd like to see them get more screen time. Kisaki and Hanma. Even the other lieutenants, like, maybe not so much Tora, that the guy with the tiger tattoo.
Oh, Kazutora.
Kazutora, yeah. Not really a fan of that guy.
With the streaks.
Yeah,
he's a pretty unlikable dude, you know.
Because he's just got mental health issues, right? Like,
I think so.
He shouldn't be fighting gangs. He should be getting some mental health.
Well, basically, Kazutora is responsible for Mikey's brother's death, which is kind of a big thing. And Baji is kind of one of Mikey's closest friends. And he stabs Baji because Baji is like infiltrating Valhalla, the other gang, but you don't know that yet. I mean, I guess we shouldn't really bother explaining to you because it's actually fairly complex. There's a lot going on, but it's good.
Did you like the flashbacks to Mikey's past? I often find flashbacks kind of slow down the narrative.
Well, I felt
progression.
like the narrative was already slow, so I was like, why not just chuck in a flashback then? I didn't mind them too much, to be honest. I think I just got used to it because the show was already running at a pretty slow pace. It's definitely like, I'm like, this is padding for sure. But I'm like, it's there, just watch it, learn stuff. And after watching the live action, I kind of like appreciate it maybe a little bit more. Like, I like watching slow moments when it's characters being characters.
Sure.
Like some of the meandering, like going to the festival or just hanging out or whatever. But the kind of padding I don't like is characters repeating what we've literally just seen. Right. And Takemichi, who just constantly forgets what he's doing and why he's there, and Takemichi being a bit of a crybaby. Like, I mean, I get that's his character. He's supposed to feel like down, I mean, he's not whining as much as Shinji, I guess, but I feel like Shinji's whining kind of adds a bit more. It's probably done better. Whereas this one, it's like it's there to remind and pad an episode out so they can reach 24 minutes. That's what I have issues with, I guess. But then, as I said, in the opposite end, the live action is just like, this is happening now. Next plot. This is happening. It's like, little bit of character development, like, next plot. Oh, shit. It's over. And then,
I don't know what they could have taken out of the movie, though.
I feel like it would have been done better as kind of like a Alice in Borderlands kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe
like
a TV
just 12
series.
episodes TV series.
Yeah.
Because the look of the live action movie is good. Like, the production design's really good. As I said, there's some, nice frames here and there. Some
performance is all right.
Decent. Yeah, it's... The thing is, it's good. It's just so fast.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the actors, like, each character in the live action does have his moment, when Mikey finds out that Draken is okay in the hospital after he gets stabbed and he has his cry. It didn't impact me as much in the live action, but the actor was portraying those emotions quite well, the relief of grief of like almost losing a friend. But like even that hospital scene, they're just suddenly at the hospital, like
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, in the anime, it's kind of there's a bit more. They add a bit more dramatic tension to it, but it's just like now we're at the hospital, and then like Mikey's just giving them food, and then it's just like it was just too fast.
Yeah, I feel like it really suffered when it got to the Mobius fight, like the final fight. Like things just kind of happened a bit too quickly, and the way it panned out. Like
Kiyomasa is just like and he just runs up.
It definitely wasn't as dramatic as it was in the anime. Because I remember like there were several moments during that part in the anime where I was like, oh no, what is he gonna do now? Because the stakes just seemed a lot higher.
You don't have the typical anime freeze go. Like it's just like.
But there are like some other differences between the anime and the live action that I guess kind of can't be helped. Like you mentioned the character design and how in the movie they do look the part, but there were just some like subtle differences that make the characters a bit flat, I feel like, in the movie. Like, for example, Mikey, in both the anime and the movie, he's like kind of this smiling, jovial character a lot of the time, But when he gets serious, in the anime, his eyes turn from glossy to matte. Like, his pupils will go matte, which you can't do in live action. But it's just like a really good way to show like his like coldness, I guess.
That's what I was gonna mention about Mikey as well. Just comparing the two, like the actor that does Mikey,
he does his
okay,
best,
but it's just he's lost some of Mikey's childish, jovial attitude. He's kind of, he's just, I don't know really.
He's just a 35-year-old man eating a dorayaki.
But some anime adaptations have done that well. Like Kenshin does it. Like he's got kind of like a jovial attitude here and there.
But then when he gets serious, he's serious.
Draken does alright. Like because you don't see too many dimensions of him, but you don't have that intimate moment of him in the ambulance with Takemichi. And I feel like that really suffered not having that scene where he's just like, thanks, man. Like, you've got my respect. I feel like that needs to be there. Like, these little character moments where you are kind of, like, building the relationship between, these characters. A lot of that's missing in the live action.
And there's another thing where, like, the first time he changes the past and then he visits Akun at the hostess club. And Akun like commits suicide there. In the anime, Akun like looks really haggard, and he's like cut all his hair off, and that's kind of like a subtle. Well, not really that subtle, but it's a representation of how he's kind of given up on his dream of becoming a hairstylist. Like he's just cut all his hair. Whereas, and then when he changes the present again, and Akun, becomes a hairstylist, he looks much healthier, and he's like got his original hairstyle as well. So the
difference in that as well, it's like in the anime he actually has a conversation with Takemichi, whereas in the live action he just runs past him, and it's like, oh, this guy's like all good now.
But also he's probably gonna kill Hina in the next movie again.
Actually, there's I wanted to talk about the live action version of the scene where Akun is just about to kill himself. It's actually a pretty like interestingly shot scene. Like they do that kind of medium close up where you could kind of like crop the background on green screen and just chuck actors in. But what they did in that scene to make it kind of interesting is that they're standing in the middle of like on top of the roof of like a hostess bar, so there's a lot of these neon lights that are shining on the characters' faces here. So when they're talking, you can see that the lights are constantly changing. And that could be someone on set who is literally just changing the lights, filters or whatever. But it's just a good way to make a scene like that more interesting and kind of sell it more. It was really cool because like I see, you see a lot of these scenes where it's just like, it's pretty bland. Fast and Furious 9.
Because it's basically just dialogue, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of reminded me of like those similar scenes in Blade Runner. Probably both Blade Runners, now that I think about it. But where there's a long section of dialogue, but they use lighting to kind of make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah, you just make it like, definitely. Like, you can get away with exposition heavy scenes. You just need to make something interesting about it. It's what I said before when I was talking about Evangelion, First Upon a Time. That gets away with it with just really raw imagery, raw emotion. This Tokyo Revengers, they get away with it with like even just something as simple as like flicking lights on and off and changing the filters just makes it more believable, So yeah, like good on the team for that. It's like I feel like the people who made Tokyo Revengers the movie, like they did care. They were trying to make a good product.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the edit had to suffer. Maybe it was too long. I feel like they probably shot a lot of the scenes that we said that were missing, but it's like we just need to do the plot and get what's there. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there does exist.
It wasn't
like
a short film in the end. It was, what, 2 hours 15?
Just under 2 hours. Like an hour and 50.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I wonder if it might have been better as like a TV show.
Yeah, but it's Japan, so they want people to go to the movies, I guess. Streaming services are not as big a thing in Japan as physical media, and
they're getting there. Though.
They're getting there, yeah.
I'm not sure if I've got much more to say about this show.
No, I was surprisingly entertained by it.
Yeah. No, me too. Like I heard good things about it, and I was the one that proposed this episode because I had read good things. And then when I first started watching it, I'm not sure if I really like this. This is pretty cool. It's getting a bit slow again. Okay, I have to know what happens now. So it definitely has the issues of what a lot of shonen anime have, but it's a good story.
Yeah, I think it brings something new to the table of shonen anime. I can see why it's popular. I think, it's got a pretty nostalgic quality to it. And the story is engaging, and fairly original as well. I would like to see more of it. I probably won't read the manga, but I'll, if and when the second season of the anime comes out and the second movie comes out, I'll watch it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just end up reading the manga and then not watching season 2. But we'll see what happens, because I'm actually very invested in the show now. Like I want to know what happens. But yeah, I think we can probably wrap this one up.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Tokyo Revengers, guys? Did you enjoy the movie more than the anime? Let us know. You can get in touch with us at 2asianblokes@gmail.com, or you can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation. Thank you for listening, as always, guys. Until next time.
Yeah, gonna get out of this fucking hot room. Yeah. All right, guys.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
AC is coming on.